Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today I want to talk about a little small company that makes some bloody good games, and that company is called, I believe it's MiMiMi or MiMiMi. I believe they're a German company. And in the background of this video, you're probably going to be seeing footage of Desperados 3, because these guys made a game called Shadow Tactics: Blades of the Shogun, which was massively inspired by the original Commandos series, by the Desperados series. Now, I played that game a few years ago and absolutely loved it. Fantastic modern rendition, of those style of games. If you don't know what these type of games are, hopefully you'll see with the footage that I'm playing. But basically, it's a real-time strategy game essentially, but they're called real-time tactics, and the idea is you have characters. Each character has a specific moveset, and you have to do missions and essentially stealth your way through these missions. You can go loud, but the downside to that is that you end up essentially having more people come out, and you've got limited resources as well. That's how these games work. But you usually have 4 or 5 characters, and they all have similar movesets but different. One guy will be able to distract differently to another one. One usually has a trap. One has say in Desperado's case, you have one guy who can fire 2 guns. You got one that's got an arc on the gun so you can hit multiple targets. Each character just plays differently, and they can characters can climb, some can't, and they all. And each level you get a certain set of characters, and you have to kind of use their skills to get through the levels. Now, back when I played Shadow Tactics, it was the first time I'd played a game like this in a long time. I am a huge fan of the Commandos series. It's a very, very hard series, and a lot of these real-time tactics games they are very difficult. They require you a lot of saving and loading, because a lot of it comes down to timing and watching patrols and figuring out how you can knock someone out and drag their body away without getting seen and all this other stuff. But the old Commandos series I absolutely loved. And then obviously we haven't had one in years, and I did play the original Desperados, and I like that game as well. But what's so cool about playing Shadow Tactics, and the same with Desperados 3, is that these guys came in and modernized these games to a degree where they feel much superior to the original games. I love Commandos 2 and 3, but I would say Shadow Tactics and Desperados 3 are much easier to get into, with just simple things just very obvious, you can highlight stuff in the world, makes it very obvious where enemies are. The fact that it gives you reminders for quick saving. There's a lot of small things that they've done to make these games feel more accessible, but not taking away that difficulty. It's not to say these games are any easier, because they're not, because it still requires you to take time. Some of these missions in these games take me about an hour and a half to complete, which I quite like. But generally, these guys have made both, like I said, Shadow Tactics, and they've made Desperados 3, and I absolutely want these guys to make a Commandos game. The reason for this is they've just pulled off this style of game so well, and it's a style of game that I love. The fact that the game, basically whenever you're playing a level, you usually have complete control of the camera. You got to spend time looking at the level that you're in, figuring out how you can, either if you either need to kill or knock people out, how you're going to do that without getting seen. One cool feature these guys added in was the ability to you basically pause time, you select a character, and that character does an action, and when you hit a button, that activates that character's action. But what's cool is you can do this with however many characters you've got. So if you've got 3 guys and you want to take out a bunch of enemies at the same time, you set up the actions you want them to do, you then hit enter, and they all perform it at the same time, and it sets up for these amazing scenarios where you're cool, right, I know that I can't knock this guy out without getting seen, so I also need to take this guy out that's over here, but there's also this guy, and you can set yourself up into these scenarios, and when you execute it, you feel like a badass. It's such a cool mechanic that they put in both of their games that I've played. It just works really well. It's also a great way of just pausing things if you just want to stop and look around. But it's things like that where I'm you know what, this really works, and the reason I want a Commandos game is because I know that feature would work so well. The Commandos series is so iconic to PC in a lot of ways. Being able to play during these World War II times and have the classic green beret, the sniper. A lot of the classes in Desperados are very similar. You've got the Doctor in Desperados, who's basically the sniper, and each of those characters, very similar. Obviously, Desperados being a Wild West inspired game rather than World War II. But I love the fact that, you know, these guys are set up to create, like, they should be given that project. I'm like, come on. Like, that's what I want. I really want a new Commandos game, and these guys seem the best to do it. Now, we did get a Commandos 2 HD. Now, I haven't returned to it, but when that came out, that game was awful. It was so bad on launch. It was such a waste of money. Like, I don't know if it's improved. I assume it has to some degree, but whoever was making that didn't do a very good job, right? These guys clearly have a love, and I'm assuming these guys are super passionate for these old-style real-time tactics games, and that's clearly shown. Both Shadow Tactics and Desperados are really good games. Like, I can't criticize it. Sometimes I feel like they're a bit too difficult, but like, that's just part of the game. That's part of the genre. You know, I persevered. I completed both the games. But like, what I would love to see is these guys get their hands on the Commando series, because that's a series that I personally absolutely love. I wanted to see it come back. And because they've already proven themselves, there's absolutely no way I wouldn't give these guys that license. Now, I don't know who holds the license for it. I think it's THQ Nordic, which seems to hold the license for a ton of things. But for a company to have proven themselves in this genre in 2 games, now, they might be a studio that want to do something different, which I wouldn't blame them, because, you know, at the end of the day, that's 2 games that are very similar. Like, they're both, essentially, one is a feudal Japan lick of paint, where the other one's Wild West, and there are obviously differences and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's still, you're still picking between 5 characters, and they have different abilities and all that kind of stuff. But I absolutely would love to see these guys put on Commandos, because that just, being able to play something like that with the time mechanic that they have, with the modern sensibilities that they have, being able to highlight things, you know, that's something that really excites me. And like, we haven't heard anything from that series in a while. The last one in the series was an FPS rather than a top-down real-time tactics game, and quite frankly, I'm like, you know what, we need these sort of things. I like it when certain games are made for certain platforms, right? Platform exclusives, maybe, whatever you want to call it. But the thing about Commandos is I do believe it was on console, but like, to me, Commandos and Desperados and games of that like are made for PC, like with mouse and controls and all that sort of stuff, which is very easy to do, lots of hotkeys, all that sort of stuff. And the fact that those games came out and got such a high score, high praise, like, people love that. It's like when you play an RTS on PC, right? Yeah, you can play certain RTS on console, and yeah, it can be fun, but, you know, there are certain games that just work really well with a keyboard and mouse. And that's why, for me, I was like, I absolutely want to see more stuff that, like, I grew up playing, you know, those classic PC games. You know, I'm the kind of person who wants a new Command & Conquer. I'm the kind of person who wants a new Commandos game. You know, there are tons of games that I grew up playing. Unreal Tournament's a good example. Just these games, like, that I think of PC gaming when I think about it. But these guys have made 2 fantastic real-time tactics games, and I'm just like, you know what? It's about time Commandos got brought back, and these guys need to put on the job. And I'm like, yes, this absolutely needs to happen, because it's just a fantastic series and genre. If you've never played Commandos, like, Commandos 2, Commandos 3 are the ones I would recommend, because they're probably a bit easier to play. The first one and its expansion are bloody difficult, and they don't. I've had issues trying to run them on modern systems. But Commandos 2 is highly regarded as the best one in the series. I really like Commandos 3 myself over that one, but both of those games are fantastic. They're a lot of fun. They're very difficult. And now we've got a studio that's proven themselves twice, and they absolutely need to make a new Commandos game. I would be shocked if these guys didn't make one, and they weren't given the license to make one. I really hope they are. Like, I really hope they are. Like, I want to reach out and be like, please tell me if you're making a new one. But yeah, it's like I said, it's something I'm very passionate about. I love those kind of games, and I would love to see these guys make it. Like, they've just done such a fantastic job on a genre that I don't see much of. I'm sure there are other examples of real-time tactics games that are out there, but these guys have that very Commandos feel, that very classic feel that I like when I play a real-time tactics game. You know, top-down view, very patient, hiding, you know, very stealthy, trying to, like, take people out, having different abilities on your characters and chucking you into missions. One thing I like as well is they specifically seem to have, especially, I think in both games actually, there's no time limit missions. There's none of this. Like, Commandos 3 has a horrible mission and we have like 15 minutes to complete it. It seems like they've got the mission structure down. And again, not for everyone. It's not a genre that's for everyone, and I can see why people might not want to play it because they are tough. But for me, this is like, oh, this is a match made in heaven. I wish I knew if it was MiMiMi or MiMiMi. It's just MiMiMi is the name of the studio, and I really just want to give these guys a shout out. It's kind of what this video is. Just to shout out and just to say, please make a Commandos game. Like, please make a Commandos game. Like, that would be awesome, and that would probably be like my game of the year if they did something like that. But yeah, it's something I just want to see happen. I want these guys to be given a chance at it, and I honestly don't think they would mess it up because they've proved themselves twice already. Anyway, this isn't going to be a very long video today. This is just something I wanted to get off my chest. I've been thinking about it after I finished Desperados 3, which you should go out and buy. It's also free on Game Pass. I say free. If you've got Game Pass, you can play it. But yeah, it's on Steam. It is a fantastic game. So is Shadow Tactics. Pick them up, play them, give these guys the support, and hopefully my dream will come true and these guys will end up making a Commandos game. That would be great. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. As always, if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to see more content, then hit the subscribe button. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below as always. And until next video, I will see you then.